All right, everyone, we have to talk about Gerald Stanley fundraising to recoup legal and other fees and losses in the wake of being found not guilty of murder up in the province of Saskatchewan. It's in Canada, of course. Up in the cold, frozen north, we have to talk about that as it overlaps sort of with the tech moral panic that we've been in, and sort of the concept generally of censorship and deplatforming is really part of this. Now, first, the actual case, what apparently happened is this is the explanation that was believed by the jury in finding him not guilty. Apparently what happened is that a truck full of Aboriginal individuals, which is a non-term, they're not Aboriginal, they just happen to be non-white, individuals in Canada pulled into some farmer's property. They had like a flat tire. And he had a gun on him to go in and talk to them, I guess. And the idea was, well, you know, he's on his farm, and all of a sudden people he doesn't know show up in apparently decent numbers. Could be a problem. You could be about to be robbed, raped, or murdered or something. So he goes out there with his gun to defend himself and his family. And it was an example, according to him, of a hanged shot, I believe it's called, where, you know, you've already pressed the trigger, the shot didn't fire, and then it fires at some later time. Now, I'm not 100% sure how that works, but I guess the jury found it feasible. I guess it's a real thing. And so they found him not guilty because what happened is the gun went off. He's claiming, no, I didn't even press the trigger. I didn't mean to kill anybody, and, you know, I'm sorry about it, but, you know, it was an accident. And so they found him not guilty of murder. And the people on the left, of course, are saying, well, no, he's like a virulent racist. He killed this dude for being non-white and pulling on his property. It was racial profiling. Wouldn't have happened if it was a white person that pulled in, blah, blah, blah. And so they've got an article here, link in the description, archived, of course, about how the far right is raising money for this individual. You know, as though he hasn't been through enough already being on trial. You know, if he's telling the truth and he didn't mean to kill anyone, he has to live with the, you know, the perpetual guilt of having killed someone without meaning to. Plus has to live, you know, so why shouldn't he at least be able to recoup the financial losses from waging an elongated defensive case, number one, and then number two, apparently there's like damage to his vehicles. Like, I guess the idea was they pulled in and accidentally hit his vehicle or something, and that's what was caused him to be concerned in the first place. That's sane, though. But the thing is, even if he went out there with a gun and he actually shot the person on purpose, you know, and said, well, you know, the dude was threatening me or something like that, wouldn't that be justified? It's on his property. I know Canada's laws are different. Like here, it's a lot easier to defend yourself. There, you have to have, like if you kill someone who's coming at you, it's wrong unless they too were armed with a deadly weapon. Or basically the idea of you have to let yourself get beaten up on the playground, otherwise you go to timeout. It's sort of a nanny state complex. It's really not civilized, but that's the way many countries do it. Thank goodness they don't here, even in blue states. It's better than in some of the more tolerant zones in, you know, maybe less advanced countries on the token on that issue. But I found it funny that they're trying to cast off those donating as far right, as though you couldn't have someone who, you know, somebody knows the family. They're like, oh, well, that sucks. I'll give them $100, you know, through this fundraiser. They're asking for money. Or somebody just, they do the philanthropy thing. They're like, well, you know, I've got a bunch of money, and somebody posted this on Facebook, and I saw it. I'm like, oh shit, his car's totaled, and he's like a farmer. He needs to be able to drive his kids to school or something, so I'll give him $1,000. You know, nobody ever thinks of these things. But the only thing is, the only reason why you would boil it down to a racial or a political motivation for donating to this dude is if you assume that there was a racial or political motive in the death in the first place. He's saying that's not the case, and it's just an accidental discharge of his firearm, that he didn't mean to kill anybody. He just had it on him just in case he was attacked. By the way, would that necessarily not even be true? What if the flat tire wouldn't have mattered? What if they get out and they don't like the way that he looks at them? They don't like the way that he talks to them, so they just jump him or something. Of course, if someone unfamiliar pulls onto your property, arming yourself makes sense. It just does. You know, it's kind of the way things work. You know, a good gun makes polite neighbors, I suppose, would be a good way of looking at it. But it's not the far right donating to him, it's just people who happen to be donating. You don't know necessarily anything about these people. Yes, there will be some who say, ha ha ha, he killed a minority, I'm going to tip him $10. Yeah, that's probably going to happen. But that doesn't matter. That's not him. It's sort of like when people look at my comments section on YouTube and they judge me based on what some people say in the comments. So somebody's telling, like, a racially charged jokes or saying something sexist, and they assume that that's like, they assume that it's my responsibility to shut them down. It's just not me. It's not going to happen. There's a lot of the guilt by association thing, guilt by who your fan base is thing. Like, I love my fan base. I really don't care what people are posting there unless they're harassing one another or something along those lines, or spamming. Spamming is a big problem. It's becoming a bigger problem over time despite YouTube's filtration system. But to assume that this is racially motivated, to assume that the death in the first place is racially motivated is a bit of a stretch. He's saying, no, it has nothing to do with that. The gun would have gone off regardless. It was a mistake. It wouldn't have mattered what race the person was. It wouldn't have mattered what their gender was. It wouldn't have mattered what they looked like, what they were driving. The gun still would have gone off. That's possible. You got to understand the possibility. Again, the other possibility being, yeah, he did shoot him. Maybe it was maybe he just said, "Wow, minorities pulling up. Wow, I got to get my robe here and my gun. Let me go kill one of them because that's the sort of thing that I'm into." Maybe so, but you have no way of proving that, and the jury didn't find him guilty. They're like, no, we believe his story. And then there are people who are saying he shouldn't be able to fundraise because he killed someone. Yeah, well, that doesn't matter. He's not fundraising. He's not saying, give me money for killing somebody. He's saying, give me money because my car got destroyed in this entire incident, while being not guilty, according to the jury, of a crime. So essentially what the left wants, what the alt-left wants, is anyone even considered to be suspected of a crime, or somebody who may have committed something, even if they're totally exonerated, they shouldn't be able to, make money either. It's gone beyond, you have to actually do or say something objectively unconscionable for them to go after you. Now they can simply suspect or have the opinion that you're just a bad person in general, and so you shouldn't be able to make a living, you shouldn't be able to have an online platform, you should be, taken off of everything. GoFundMe has very wisely, I think, resisted the temptation to go along with their very vocal minority chorus, minority in the literal sense, I suppose, on this particular story, and has decided to say, no, our terms of service are our terms of service. And there are websites out there are some that we could name that no longer care about their own terms of service and will just bend to the whim of, if you get enough people pretending to be outraged over something, they'll try to find a workaround that doesn't involve, just completely throwing the TOS out the window. There are some sites that are like that. I think Cough Cough Twitter, definitely one of them. YouTube is going down that road, which is probably the worst thing in the world that I can think of. Not just for my own benefit, but literally for human communication. But they've unfortunately been trying to turn themselves into MySpace 2.0. I don't think it's wise. I warned them not to, but it's part of the moral panic. Still long-term optimism, but, things, again, they get worse before they get better. We can see it all around us, and at an accelerated rate. Thankfully, at some point, the alt-left overstretches so completely, along with its corporate overlords and its fascist buddies, which is really what we're dealing with here. People who want private industry should be able to privatize abuse, basically, is what they believe in. At some point, they censor one too many people or ideas, and they collapse completely, leading to a little bit of an overthrow for the final end of the paradigm, and it'll be a great thing. But it is interesting to see. I mean, this is Canada. This isn't in the United States. Canada's its demographics are slightly different than those of the U.S. The political situation being not entirely the same as well. That's about all. Peace out.